Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to play Chapter 7, Tooth. This one is probably my most favorite of all the chapters because this focuses on characters we didn't really get to know much of in the main game. This focuses on characters from Byakudan High School, which is the same school that Kizami went to. So, let's get started. Byakudan Senior High School Student Council Room, 4:30 p.m.
おい生徒会長、明日だぞ。
ん？何がだ？
蹴り入れていい？
却下。何があるんだ明日？こら！生徒会室で暴力行為は禁則と定めたろう。
知るもんか。忘れてる方が悪いもん。
やめなきゃ。こちらに非があるなら謝罪する。まず聞こうじゃないか。
この部屋の徹底掃除だよ。見てこれ。何これ。片付けろっつうの。何この玉入れのやつじゃん。あいつさえいつだったよ。
ああ、そういえばそんなことを言っていたか。一体
忘れてたでしょ。
Sorry if you hear a lot of noise, it's just me moving around.
いや、記憶はしていた。僕も美月の意向には。
普通に喋れ。
ああ、忘れてたさ。俺だっていろいろ考えることがあって忙しかったんだよ。会長だからって何でもかんでもみんな俺んとこ持ってくるしさ。悪かったな。
うん、許す。
なんだ。
初期としての進言です。たまには言い訳くらいした方がいいよ。男らしい生徒会長もかっこいいけどさ。だが戦線離脱は許さないからな。逃げられると思うなよ。
わかった。
わかんねえやつだな、智弘。ミンコは俺の嫁だっつってんだろ。
いや、譲らないぞ。陽介にはナナさんって人がいるだろ。ダマタとかマジないよ。
バカ。3人からモテて初めてリア充だろ。上皇。
楽しそうだね、それ。ゲーム？
どう山本、お前もやる？タッチペンでグリグリしてチューするゲーム。女の子3人と付き合えるぜ。
何？
ハマるのはいいけど一人に絞れ。
言って。
あんたら明日のこと覚えてるんだろうね。
何でしたっけ？
I had no idea any of this was going on in the student council room that day. I had other things on my mind, specifically a certain boy. Byakudan Senior High School, Class 2-4, after school. My name is Toko Kirisaki. I'd been waffling for quite some time on whether or not to say anything, but finally I decided to bite the bullet and ask his best friend, Kurosaki.
ゆうやってさ、彼女いるの？
あ、いや、あいつ今フリーだと思うよ。なんだ？
狙っちゃおっかななんて。
マジ？おお、いいじゃん、応援するよ。でもあいつな、女の子といってもいっつもつまんなそうにしてるから付
付き合えても切り裂きがあんまり楽しくないかもしれない。
Oh, I pressed the wrong button, sorry.
でも確かにゆうやってモテる割に手とか全然出してこないって女子はみんな言ってるな。
それって悪い印象？
クリーンなイメージ。
This was Kensuke Kurosaki, who'd known Yuya Kizami, aka the boy I liked, pretty much all his life. I figured I'd come to him for all the information I needed in my conquest, since he was pretty much guaranteed to know Yuya's dating history. And so far, things seem to be going really well. I mean, not only did I confirm Yuya wasn't seeing anyone, but I got his best friend's blessing too. And confirmed that he really wasn't the showy, obnoxious, cool guy type. That suited me just fine.
黒崎、ほら。
Kurosaki was understandably rather startled by the extraordinarily agitated female voice that suddenly rang out from behind his head. But that's Hellgirl Mitsuki for you. She was standing in the classroom doorway, arms folded across her chest, looking like some angry deity about to cast judgment down upon the world. And she had that deathly gleam in her eyes, the one that could fell the mightiest warrior before he even had a chance to draw his sword.
今日は生徒会室の徹底掃除するから来なさいって言ったでしょ。
いや、俺今日部活だって言ったじゃん。おい、袋井な。
逆らうな、もう無理だ。
Yeah, this was definitely Hellgirl's work. All the complexion was gone from Fukuroi's face. He was a man with a demon on his back. Whip at the ready, fully prepared to bring divine just punishment upon all who opposed her. He was right, it was easier just to give in.
面白そう。私も行く。おお、手は多いほど良いぞよ。
Mitsuki then grabbed the nape of Kurosaki's neck and began dragging him out the door in a decidedly painful-looking manner. He was like a teary-eyed chick caught in the talons of a bird of prey, struggling in vain as he was being carried off to meet his grisly end.
俺生徒会じゃないのに。
I just loved watching those boys interact with Hellgirl Mitsuki. I couldn't wait to see more. I didn't even care if I had to clean in order to do it. I was a volunteer after all, so I was pretty much off the hook here. I could follow them at my own pace. No dragging for me. As soon as we left the classroom, though, we ran into Yuya. Or rather, I did, as in I literally ran into him. I wasn't watching where I was going and wound up slamming into him so hard that I fell over. Immediately, he reached out his hand to help me up and asked if I was alright. Now that's a white knight if ever I've seen one. What a fun evening this would be. I imagined it ending with me lying in bed, dreaming of Yuya's perfect face inching ever closer to mine. But instead... Tooth.
うする？みんなのところに戻る？
I'm gonna try and move my controller a little further away from the mic. You can still probably hear it though.
涼介、涼介、痛いか？痛いか？
膝と大腿部の関節を縛った。出血は抑えられるはずだ。
足も持ってきてるから心配するな。
Is his leg detached? We were in an old-fashioned, run-down, and probably condemned school building. None of us knew how we got here, nor even where here was. I just emerged from the girls' room with Emi after losing my lunch, where Yuya, Okawa, Katayama, and Shimada were waiting. The whole hallway was an absolute bloodbath after what had happened. Poor Katayama walked into some kind of booby trap and half his right leg was lopped off, from the knee down. It looked excruciating. How is somebody supposed to handle a situation like this? Why did this have to happen at all?
なんだよこの学校。なんで罠とか仕掛けてあるんだ。つうかどこだよここ。ふざけんなよ。
静かにしてよ。涼介大怪我してんだぞ。
あ？なんだおい。やんのかこれ。や
めて。
This is what tagging along with Mitsuki and the others got me. I thought it was going to be a laugh riot, and at first it was great. We all went to the student council room where we met up with Katayama, Shimada, and Emi and started cleaning and goofing around. And then when we were done, Emi suggested we all try out this new charm she discovered on the internet. She's nuts for that kind of stuff. She took out this simple white paper doll and we were all kind of fascinated. So we did as we were instructed, and then suddenly everything went dark. There was a violent shaking, and then we were here, in this old schoolhouse. No explanation.
とにかく出ようよここ。みんなで一緒にここを出よう。玄関に行こう。
片山は
俺が背負う。
Yuya was so kind. You can always count on boys in times like these. Still, there was a potential problem with this course of action.
待って。でも今みたいな罠とかさあったら危ないよ。人を背負ってたらとっさに動けないし。だけどだからまずは外までの道の安全を確保してから片山くんを連れに戻ってきた方がいいと思うんだ。
賛成だ。
そっか。
涼介、大丈夫だぞ。お前を置いてったりしない。な。
Okawa was in a state of absolute panic. He just kept muttering to himself at Katayama's side. The two of them had always been extremely close. It's only natural he'd be worried, though his concern kind of bordered on obsession.
じゃあ誰が行くの？通路を歩いてるだけでいきなり足が吹っ飛ばされるの？
お前今玄関行こうっつったじゃねえか。行ってこいよ。
Shimada practically spit his answer at her. I hate people like him. Sure, he had a pretty face. That's basically all he had, though. People like him pose as models in men's journals, but they're not good for much else. He got a lot of girls, too, but I'm not one of them. I could never get past his awful attitude. It's such a huge turnoff for me when guys act that way. Not that I don't admire speaking with confidence and force. I try to do it myself whenever I can. But there's a difference between speaking forcefully and speaking in a way that belittles others. Shimada was basically just cold and uncaring.
私が行くよ。言い出すっぺだし。どこ？
俺も行こう。
ゆうや。
What a difference. Like night and day. Kind, thoughtful people like him don't make flippant remarks. They just man up and get stuff done. I was crushing on him harder than ever, because now not only did I think he was both cool and hot, I also gained a ton more respect for him.
大人数で行く必要はない。行くならあと一人くらいだ。どうする？
Dead silence. No volunteers, huh? Everybody just looked at one another, then looked away as if they were ashamed of themselves.
俺はどうしよう涼介寂しいよな
He was frantically shifting his gaze from one person to another. I'd never seen him so on edge before. Finally, the silence was broken by a loud, shrill male voice. Definitely not whom I would have picked.
くそ、俺が言ってやるよ。お前はここにいろ。
いい桐崎さんがいて
俺が行く。ヘタレはここで待ってろ。邪魔になる。
じゃあ行こう。急がないと片山マジで危ないし。気をつけてね。
Was I scared? You bet I was scared. Oh shit. Sorry. You bet I was scared. But in a situation like this, everybody has to work together. And as long as I had any willpower left in me, I wasn't about to give up. You may be hearing a chime in the background, I don't know. About at 4:30 and 5 they play that. I'm not sure what it means. I guess it's just something to say, oh, it's the end of the day. But whatevs. Plus, it didn't hurt that Yuya was with me, so I knew everything was going to turn out just fine. Alright, so we can't get into the boys' room. Once again, I'm gonna go exploring a bit. Now, you probably don't recognize Shimada because his sprite was not in the previous game, the PlayStation Portable, but he was in it. He was there as a skeleton and you got his student ID. He was one of the corpses yelling Kizami. I mean, we pretty much know the fate of everyone here. So we're seeing what Kizami was like before he decided to let his true self show. It's a recently deceased corpse, still a bit warm. Based on appearance and uniform, this was most likely a high school boy. There's a student ID name tag on the ground next to him, but is that an alias? A fake ID? The name on the card seems highly suspicious. Kurashiki Industrial High School. Onda 4th Street. Yeah. Oops. On the 4th Street. Yeah, it does sound rather odd. How do you feel to be... The writing is partially erased, making it hard to interpret what it might have said. It's a newly deceased corpse. Based on appearance and dress, she seems to have been female. There's a student ID name tag at her feet. Karasuyama High School. Megumi Onda. Not related to the one up front because of the names, but... There's a large hole in the floor here. It's much too big to jump over. Okay, so we can't go there. The words "kill before you're killed" are scribbled all over this school flyer. Alright, let's go there. The word infirmary was written on the plate above the door. Somehow, the room just felt like it would be deserted. I was oddly confident about that. Not sure why I felt that way, to be honest. But for good measure, I shouted, "Is anybody in there?" We still hadn't found Mitsuki after all. I didn't hear her call back, though, so really, we had no business in this room whatsoever. Wait, was that a key sticking out of the lock? Who would have locked the door but left the key? What would be the point?
お、なんだこれ。扉に鍵刺さってるぜ。
何してんの？
中に化け物でもいたら大変だろ。出てこれないようにしてやった。
その鍵どうするのよ。
俺が持っとくよっと。
危ないな、投げないでよ。
キャッチうめえだろっと。まだ高く投げられるぜ。
Pain in the ass. Shimada was such a pain in the ass. I really couldn't stand the guy.
しつこい、分かったからやめて。
ここ天井高えな。よし。ふっ。あ、どこ行った？まあいいや。知らね。
And now the infirmary was cut off from us if we needed it. Brilliant. Could have taken Katayama there.
昇降口だ。やった、出られる。
I rushed over to the door, hopeful yet afraid, knowing it might not open, but praying this horrid place would show us at least a little mercy. Gingerly, I raised my hand and pushed on it, and it swung open without even the slightest hesitation. It seemed almost too easy. It was unnaturally dark outside, though, and the rain was coming down so hard that peeking my head out for just a moment left my uniform completely soaked. Shimada pushed past me, throwing the door open even wider with his usual lack of regard for anyone and anything around him. My clothes went from soaked to drenched in a matter of seconds. If I were to actually walk out into it, I felt like I'd drown.
なんだこりゃ。真っ暗だぞ。森？
ひどい雨。こんな中外に出て行ったら服びしょ濡れになりそう。
そりゃ見てみてえな。
けど外に出られることは分かったね。片山たち連れに戻ろう。ね、ゆうや。
Despite our having found a way out, Yuya's demeanor hadn't changed a bit. He was standing back by the hall, where he could watch over us while also keeping an eye out for anyone else who might happen by, the model of maturity. Shimada, on the other hand...
頑張れよ。俺はもう出るぞ。こんなわけわかんねえところ、とっとと出るに限るぜ。片山のところになんか戻らねえよ。
マジで言ってる？
あー、当たり前だバカ。脳なしから順番に死ぬようになってるんだよ。あんな奴ら放っとけよ。は
あ、びっくり。いいんだこんなやつ。
よう桐崎、お前も来いよ。
The tone in his voice said it all. He'd hit the ultimate low. After abandoning his friends to save his own hide, he was now basically propositioning me.
お前には死んでほしくないんだ。前から大事に思ってたからさ。
With an obviously rehearsed and truly sickening pickup line. He really was the slimeball to end all slimeballs.
信じらんない。何お前、こっち見んなよ。
I couldn't believe he had the nerve to pull something like this. I felt like that may have been the first time I'd ever truly yelled at someone. I was absolutely livid. And he wasn't even done. No, he still had plenty of salt left to throw in the wound.
うるせえブス、調子乗ってんなよ。
It's so many guys online with like through dating sites.
せっかく行かせてやろうと思ったのによ。後悔しろや。
死ねえ。こいつマジ切れる。行こう、ゆうや。
My head was swimming. I was scared, I was angry, I was sad, every negative emotion brought to the forefront, and every positive emotion pushed away. I didn't look back. I just turned away from Shimada, walked over to Yuya's side, and continued past him into the hallway. Yuya had been watching all of this unfold from the other side of the room, and for a moment, he just stood there, staring blankly at Shimada.
あ？何見てんだよ。消えろよ、能面野郎。
Shimada then drew a large knife from his breast pocket. Its tip struggled to glisten in the dull light of the room, but it did ultimately succeed. He began waving it around like a dumbass, probably thinking it made him look more menacing.
見ろよこれ。昨日買ったんだよ。使えそうだろ？いろいろ。
お前は本当に面白いな。
あいつ女10人くらいいるんだよ。信じられる？何が大事に思ってたよ。どんだけ女の子バカにしてんの。マジ許せない。
I was indignant. I was fuming. I just kept cursing and mumbling as I fast walked back to the 3rd floor to meet up with the others. And all the while, Yuya was keeping pace with me, saying nothing at all. Always the model of maturity, always even-tempered. He really was like a rock. Or maybe he found my mutterings annoying and was just keeping quiet so I'd do the same. I didn't like that possibility one bit, so I mentally slapped myself on the cheek, forced positivity in my voice, and tried to engage him in cheery banter.
Yuya はその点誠実だよね。女の子傷つけたこと一回もないでしょ。超モテるのに悪い噂聞いたことないもん。ある意味すごいよ。
I looked him square in the eyes, as if asking him, "Isn't that right?" And for a moment, his eyes did meet mine, but then they went right back to the hall. Was he not used to receiving compliments from women? That seemed hard to believe.
よくわからない。
What a cute, innocent response. I must have come across as bipolar to him or something. One second I try to lighten the mood with small talk or compliments, and then I'd start to feel scared of this school again, or angry at Shimada, or sad for Katayama. My mind just couldn't make up its mind what to feel.
見つけたよね、今の声。下の階だ。
Mitsuki's voice echoed up from below, but our friends were waiting for us above. For a moment, I wasn't sure which direction to go, but only for a moment. The fact is, our friends were very, very close, so close that it would be foolish not to tell them what was going on before chasing after Mitsuki.
急ごう。エミや片山たち連れてみんなで下に行こうよ。
Yuya just nodded and began running up the stairs, and I was right behind him.
お待たせ。出口見つかったよ。さあ、みんな行こう。
I was out of breath, staring down at the ground and talking to what I assumed would be 3 very attentive friends. But then I looked up. They were all there, but there was no immediacy, no urgency on anyone's face. Emi and Okawa weren't even looking at me, nor at Yuya, but at Katayama. They were fixated on his face, and each bore a sad, hopeless, empty expression, and they certainly weren't about to get moving. There was a general heaviness in the air. Something was very wrong. I gently reached out my hand and touched Emi's shoulder.
どうしたの？どこ？ダメ。片山くん、どんどん衰弱してる。
陽介、喋らなくなったよ。どうしよう。陽介。
Emi's eyes were filled with tears. Okawa, too, was cradling Katayama's head and looked like he'd been crying this whole time. His eyes were bright red and his nose was running. Yuya, still saying nothing, just walked over to Katayama's side, bent down and began examining his wound.
急いだ方がいい。
The 4 of us silently but unanimously agreed that our best course of action was to pick up Katayama and bring him out through the exit we discovered. And we had to be very, very quick about it, or he really would die. I could tell just by looking at him that his time was almost up.
木が3
車に乗せるのを手伝ってくれ。
涼介頑張れ、みんなが助けてくれるぞ。
As this was all going on, I had that nagging feeling like I was forgetting something. Of course, Mitsuki. We had to go find her. We couldn't just leave her behind after all.
ゆうや、どうしよう。私2階ちょっと見てきていい？美月の声が気になるんだ。遠くに行っちゃったら。
He didn't even have to say anything this time. His eyes told the whole story. Got it. I know I can trust you with this task, they said. And that was enough for me. I shot off down the hall like a bullet. I was determined to find Mitsuki and rejoin everyone en route. I hurried down to the second floor. But Mitsuki's voice was coming from even farther down. I'd have to keep going to the first floor ahead of the others. Is that hole still there? Probably. Yeah. Okay, well, they said it was downstairs, so... Wait, I don't think we gotta see those hallways. There's a thoroughly decomposed corpse here. The name on its name tag sounds male, but it's a little hard to tell. Matsukaze Prefectural High School. Motohiro Suzuki. It does sound male. I don't think many girls' names have the word hero in it. I think we're supposed to head to the exit.
さっき美月の声が聞こえた場所から考えると、これ以上先だと聞こえないよね。戻ってみよう。
It looks like there's a body there, so... It's a thoroughly decomposed corpse. Having gone completely skeletal, it's virtually impossible to determine age or gender. Fortunately, the deceased name tag seems to have survived, and identifies him as a male student from a trade school. Komashiro Trade School, Toru Takahashi. Okay, so we can't go further. Alright. So yeah, basically we have to go to the exit, but let's examine this. It's a half-decomposed corpse. Though kind of hard to tell, it appears to be the remains of a female senior high school student. She still seems to be loosely gripping her student ID name tag in one of her hands. Kurashiki Industrial High School. Leona Omura. One way or another, we're going to make it out of this school. All of us together. Huh. Wait, so... Okay, so we need to be heading back. Because, I mean, clearly she's not down here. If I kept running in circles like this, I'd never find her. I was in a state of panic, and I was allowing it to steer my path. Frustrated with the situation and with myself for choosing to give up and head back empty-handed, I forced myself to stop and turn. I was going to do what I should have done in the first place, call out Mitsuki's name with everything I had in me, and hope she responded.
Mitsuki! Mitsuki! Doko? Minna iru yo?
No answer. Just the cold, lonely sounds of rain and wind bearing down on this old, dilapidated building. This may have been a fairly large school, but sound traveled well in here. If she were anywhere in this hallway, I'm sure she would have heard me. And if she were just here only minutes ago, she definitely should have been around now. Could something have happened to her?
Mitsuki.
Okay. So clearly we don't want to look at him. That we're going to save. Because that leads to the wrong ending for this chapter. Alright. So we can't go past him. And the hole is still there, so... Just a lot of going back in circles. What the hell was that? What had just appeared in front of me? I have it turned down low so my mic doesn't capture the sound, so I have no idea if this is voiced or not. Doesn't sound like it. There's nothing to be gained here but despair. Though if you've got an iron will, you might be able to survive for a little while at least. Here, you should have this. It'll help keep the wandering spirits at bay, though it only works once. So take it. Get out there and fight like hell. Stay alive as long as you possibly can. The spirit vanished, but lying on the floor below where it had been was a gemstone. Specifically, a violet-colored gemstone. Probably an amethyst. So I can use that to keep the wandering spirits at bay one time, huh? Guess he meant the full body ones, or it would have kept him at bay too. Either way, with this gem, I felt like I could actually get back to my friends safely. I was as hopeful as one could expect, all things considered. Amethyst is my favorite crystal gem. I love that cartoon. Of course, he also said there was no escape from here, but it was my prerogative to believe what I wanted to believe and ignore what I wanted to ignore. And they're going to be showing the last one of the year this week, which sucks. Because it has an interesting story, but it's... I want to see more this year. There's still plenty of time left within the year.